Welcome to another interesting section on the history of Southern Africa in the 19th century. In this section, we'll be examining the rise of Chaka and the creation of the Zulu state in Southern Africa. It is interesting to note that during the first decade of the 19th century, a revolution took place among the northern Nguni people, which affected large areas of Southern Africa and Eastern Africa. We have noted in our previous tutorial section that towards the end of the 18th century, population pressure produced increasing conflicts between the many northern Nguni groups in the narrow coastal plain between the northern Drakensberg Mountains and the Indian Ocean. This conflict enabled larger states than had previously existed to be created by very ambitious and opportunistic leaders such as Diginswayo of the Metwetwa, Zwide of the Ndwendwe, and Sovuza of the Ngwane tribes. These leaders developed political and military methods and machineries which paved the way for Shaka's creation of the Zulu state. A critical question to ask at this juncture is, who was Chaka? What is his origin? What do we know about his antecedents? And this has been well demonstrated in my previous discussions on Chaka in the 19th century. Chaka was a son of the chief of the small Zulu clan, which was conquered by Diginswayo soon after the clash in 1800. Chaka, as a result of the collapse of his own kingdom, his father's kingdom, joined Diginswayo's army and soon distinguished himself as a great military leader during the period of study. So with Diginswayo's help, Chaka succeeded his father as chief of the Zulu. Don't forget that I stated that Chaka himself was a son of a chief of a small Zulu clan. All right. So he succeeded his father as the chief of the Zulu in 1816. And when Diginswayo was eventually eliminated in a war against Zwide in 1818, also Chaka emerged as the most powerful leader among the northern Nguni people in Southern Africa. In 1819, as a result of enormous military prowess and formidable alliances and military formation, Chaka defeated Zwide and the Ndwende and was supported by a wide and strong army using different types of military organization and modern techniques in a way to consolidate the emergence and the sophistry of the Zulu kingdom. So with time, Chaka was able to unite the northern Nguni into a highly centralized Zulu state in Southern Africa. Over a decade, Chaka's armies raided far and wide, setting off a chain of reaction, of war, of conflict, of dislocation, and setting the pace for the concomitant migration that characterized the history of Southern Africa in the 19th century, which is generally known in the literature as the Mfecane, meaning the times of trouble. One of the critical points to note is that with this achievement, Chaka created a strong, united military state with a very despotic military method of ruling this Zulu state. In 1828, for instance, as a result of several alliances and counter-alliances, Chaka himself was assassinated by two of his brothers, Dingen and Milagana, and Dingen became the ruler of the Zulu by 1828 as a result of the clashes and the series of conflict that he was engulfed with. So at this juncture, it is important to note some of the key achievements of Chaka, as we have noted in the previous discussion, the context of the formation of the Zulu state. So the following are some of the Chaka's main achievements during the 19th century. One of them was the army reorganization. As we have noted, Building upon the reforms of the Ginswayo, Chaka created a revolutionary new types of standing army, very sophisticated, very formidable, and very fierce. All right, so his army was composed of large regiments which joined together men of the same age grades of all different groups in this new state and made them totally loyal to Chaka. So Chaka was able to unite all the people and classify them according to age grade, into military to serve in different military capacity. All right. So these age grade regiments were well trained and highly disciplined and were the strongest fighting force in the area that Southern Africa had ever known. The second point to note about the achievement of Chaka, in the context of the formation of the Zulu state, was the military reforms. Unlike the previous political and military systems that defined the history of the Southern African people, whether the Khoikhoi, the Bantu, or the Nguni, Chaka was able to organize effective military reforms. Chaka also introduced new tactics and new weapons. His soldiers were armed with short stabbing spears, which were much more effective and efficient than the traditional throwing of spears, and new tactics were used, such as the wings of horns, of the army, which surrounded their enemy. All of these helped the Zulu military to defeat and to subjugate most of their enemies, and which led to the emergence of the Zulu state. The third point to know in the context of the achievement of Zulu was the creation of the Zulu state itself. So the small Nguni chieftaincy were for the first time provided with political and social unity. In our discussion about the socio-political characteristics, all right, of the various groups in Southern Africa, will probably shows that the Zulu was quite a very, very small unit among the groups that dominated Southern Africa before the 19th century. So as it was as a result of the military prowess and sophistry of Chaka that the small Nguni chieftaincy were for the first time able to emerge, producing political and social unity. All right, so the Zulu state was strong enough to survive Chaka's death, and even today, the Zulu possess a strong sense of national identity as a result of the unity fostered by Chaka during the 19th century. Another point of interest is the centralization of social and political systems among the Zulu people. The strength and unity of the Zulu state was increased by a high degree of centralization under Chaka in the 19th century. For instance, all power was in Chaka's hand, the chiefs being closely supervised by his court. He organized a centralized system of administration in a way that he overseed, he monitored and supervised every aspect of the military and political activities. Even the economy was centralized to serve the need of the army. Religious life was also transformed to make Chaka the supreme religious leaders, and the Zulu language and traditions were adopted by the whole state in South Africa. So this perhaps could be described as Zulu nationalism. So what Chaka did was to introduce a concept projected the identity and the heritage of the superiority of the Zulu. So Zulu nationalism was projected by Chaka. So let's take a moment to look at the causes of the rise of Zulu states. The causes of the rise of the Zulu state during this 19th century. Several factors helped to explain the rise of the Zulu states during the 19th century. The one factor that is indistinguishable, that is profound, is the pressure which is produced by a rapidly expanding population. All right, I've mentioned at the beginning that during the 19th century, a number of development occurred as a result of social pressure, all right, which led to reorganization of the society itself. All right, so the influence from the Soto people may have also helped to produce change among the northern Nguni people. There were quite a number of influences from the Soto people which consolidated the efforts of the Zulu. So there was also rivalry to control trade routes, especially trade with the Portuguese, at Delagoa Bay, which may have been a major contributory factor to the emergence of the Zulu state during the 19th century. Also, there is also the traditional Nguni political and social ideas, which was weakened in the 18th century, making the Nguni ready to accept great change. All right, you know that among the other groups, Nguni people were the most highly developed and organized, but as a result of traditional and political weaknesses in the 18th century among the Nguni people, all of this paved the way for the emergent leaders among the Zulu to take advantage. All right, the other factor was the Diginswayo and Zwide who prepared the way by their political and military reforms. So the effort made by Diginswayo and Zwide cannot be underestimated in the understanding of the development or the changes and continuity in the history of the Zulu people in Southern Africa. Chaka's military reforms and his great ability as a leader were probably the most important factor, but which were actually built upon the effort made by Diginswayo. So at this juncture, we will turn to look at another important topic in our next session, which is Mfecane.